For centuries, mercenaries have fought wars not for patriotism, but for profit. They've been hired by kings, corporations, and warlords alike, fighting in deserts, jungles, and cities far from their homeland. Every crime has a story, and every story deserves the truth. Subscribe to Crime Reports Files, where we uncover the truth behind every crime. But in the 21st century, one of the most unexpected players stepped into Africa's deadliest battlefield, Romania. By 2022, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, already scarred by decades of conflict, was losing its war against the M23 rebels. These rebels were well-armed, well-trained, and backed by Rwanda. The Congolese government was desperate, and so they turned to a shadowy private military company from Eastern Europe. What followed was chaotic, brutal, and ultimately disastrous, ending with hundreds of Romanian mercenaries surrendering in humiliation in 2025. This is the untold story of how 300 Romanians became the last defenders of Goma, and how their mission collapsed under betrayal, incompetence, and greed. Chapter 1. The Congo's War. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is a land of staggering contradictions. It's the size of Western Europe, covered in dense rainforest, with rivers so wide they resemble oceans. Beneath its soil lies treasure: gold, tin, diamonds, cobalt. Minerals that power smartphones, electric cars, and satellites. But instead of bringing wealth and stability, those riches have brought nothing but war. Since the late 1990s, the eastern provinces of Congo have been a battleground for militias, rebel armies, and foreign troops. Millions have died, not only from bullets, but from hunger, disease, and displacement. By 2022, the M23 rebels had returned to the field after years of dormancy. They weren't just another ragtag militia. They were an organized, disciplined, and politically savvy force. Their fighters carried modern rifles, wore matching uniforms, and operated with military precision. The reason? Rwanda. Kigali denied it publicly, but everyone in the region knew. The M23 was being armed, trained, and funded by the Rwandan state. This gave them a massive advantage over the disorganized Congolese army, known as the FARDC. The FARDC was collapsing from within. Supplies meant for frontline soldiers disappeared into corrupt officers' pockets. Units went unpaid for months. Some troops survived by selling their own weapons and uniforms on the black market. The government in Kinshasa knew something had to change, and that's when Romania entered the picture. Chapter 2. Enter Ralph. Romania had no colonial history in Africa, no major business interests in the Congo, and no seat at the table in African politics. But Ralph Rowe, a small private military company led by Horatiu Potra, saw an opportunity. Potra wasn't an ordinary businessman. He was a former officer in the elite French Foreign Legion. He'd served in Lebanon, Africa, and Afghanistan, and he knew the mercenary world inside out. His pitch to the Congolese government was simple and seductive. We will take your broken army and make it fight like the Legion. In December 2022, the first 100 Romanian contractors, codenamed Romeo, landed in Goma. They arrived with modern rifles, body armor, and training manuals. Their mission? Transform the FARDC into a disciplined, professional force in just 3 months. It sounded ambitious. In reality, it was impossible. Chapter 3. Training Disaster. From day one, the Romanians knew they were in trouble. The Congolese soldiers they were supposed to train were barely functional as a fighting force. Many were teenagers who had never fired a weapon in combat. Others were veterans who had learned all the wrong habits: poor marksmanship, lack of discipline, and zero respect for orders. The equipment situation was a nightmare. Soldiers arrived at training wearing mismatched uniforms, torn sandals, and even flip-flops. Rifles were rusted, ammunition was scarce, and some recruits had to share a single weapon between 3 men. One Romanian instructor later recalled, "We asked them to run drills. Half refused, the other half sold their rations before lunch. Corruption poisoned every level of the chain of command. Officers stole soldiers' salaries and resold donated food supplies. Medical kits were stripped for parts and sold in the markets of Goma. Still, the Romanians tried. They built firing ranges, taught basic marksmanship, and introduced modern tactics, mortars, drones, and artillery spotting. But progress was painfully slow. Meanwhile, the M23 wasn't waiting. They were advancing. Chapter 4, From Trainers to Fighters. By mid-2023, the Congolese government changed the contract. The Romanians were no longer just trainers. They were combatants. The force expanded to over 1,500 men, divided into three main defensive lines. Gulf Line, north of Goma. Sierra Line, west near the town of Sake. Lima Line, the fallback position by Lake Kivu. They fortified checkpoints, set up machine gun nests, and directed Congolese artillery. In skirmishes, they proved far more effective than the local army, holding their positions under heavy fire. But cracks appeared. Many of the new recruits weren't professional soldiers. They were nightclub bouncers, taxi drivers, and even petty criminals drawn by the $5,000 monthly paycheck. Some had never been in a firefight. Congolese officers continued to take bribes to abandon posts, leaving Romanian positions exposed, and the enemy's numbers kept growing. Not just M23 rebels, but entire Rwandan army units disguised as insurgents. By 2024, the Romanians were outnumbered, outgunned, and dangerously isolated. Chapter 5, The Final Siege. In January 2025, the storm broke. Rwanda and M23 launched a massive coordinated offensive. It began with artillery strikes on Sake, followed by infantry waves. The Congolese soldiers assigned to hold the town melted away within hours, some fleeing, others surrendering. That collapse left the Lima line dangerously exposed. The Romanians tried to regroup, but their flank was wide open. Then came the betrayal from within. A separate group of South African mercenaries, also hired by the Congolese government, cut a private deal with the rebels. They withdrew without a fight, abandoning their Romanian counterparts entirely. In the end, only 300 Romanians remained to defend Goma against 8,000 enemy troops. For days, they fought street by street. Mortars and drones rained down. The defenders scavenged ammunition from fallen enemies. Every night, the enemy line inched closer. By the fourth day, food and water were gone. Ammunition was nearly depleted, and the evacuation plan was falling apart. Chapter 6. The Humiliating Surrender. The Romanians had arranged for evacuation flights, but at the last moment, the Georgian pilots who had promised to take them out demanded $5,000 cash per seat. Many couldn't pay. The planes took off half empty, leaving desperate men behind. With no way out, the remaining Romanians turned to the United Nations peacekeepers in Goma, but the UN would only shelter them if they surrendered all weapons and gear. That would mean certain capture if the rebels overran the UN compound. The choice was grim: surrender now or be slaughtered later. And so, 288 Romanian mercenaries laid down their arms. Cameras rolled as they were marched at gunpoint across the border into Rwanda. "You fight for money! Move! Jump!" a rebel commander shouted, mocking them for the world to see. Chapter 7. Aftermath. The fallout was immediate. The mercenaries never received their final 2 months' pay. Horatio Potra, the man who had led them into Congo, was arrested in Romania on charges of fraud and embezzlement. Goma fell. The Congolese government's prestige collapsed with it, and yet the war did not end. Today, new mercenaries, Colombians, Russians, even ex-Ukrainian soldiers are being sent to the same region. Many will likely meet the same fate. Final thoughts: the Romanian mercenaries fought bravely in moments, but they were doomed from the start. They were fighting in a war that wasn't theirs, for a government that couldn't pay them, against an enemy with better training, more resources, and local support. Their story is a warning. In modern warfare, money can buy guns and men, but not loyalty, strategy, or victory. The battlefields of the Congo continue to swallow lives, local and foreign alike, for profit, politics, and power. So, I'll leave you with this question. Should mercenaries have any role in Africa's wars? Or should the world finally put an end to the shadow armies fighting in the dark? Like and subscribe for more untold military sagas, and share your thoughts in the comments.